What's going on, everybody? This is Living in Arizona Now. Today, we're going to talk about the Arizona housing market, one of the most popular subjects that people want to know about. And we're going to talk about this. I'm going to pull some data from online as of the most recent reports about the housing boom that continues to occur that has people thinking we're in a bubble because we're at all-time highs. Also, my own personal opinion and experience as someone who's selling a house and also going into the housing market as a potential buyer, but deciding to maybe even just rent due to the climate and my own personal circumstance. And so we're just going to look at the housing market across Arizona and how it compares against the country. But let's talk about this. If this is your first time to Living in Arizona Now, this channel, you can subscribe to get up to date on any information about moving to Arizona or living in Arizona currently. And we have tons of videos on this channel all across the state that you guys can check out if you haven't already done so. And thank you to the 6 people who already crushed up the like. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So, you go around, you're looking at these houses and you're like, man, they're up 20, 30%, 15% in some cases across Phoenix, depending on where you're at. I mean, the prices have really skyrocketed. A house that was selling for $270,000 in 2018, now selling for $340,000, $350,000. This is just 2 years ago. So the housing market, you could see that expansion. Some areas are really seeing a massive spike in prices, like Queen Creek. Queen Creek homes, I mean, you should be able to get a pretty nice house in Queen Creek for $300,000. Now, some of those houses, in particular in gated communities, $450,000, in some cases even $500,000. That was unheard of in 2017 and 2018. So what's driving these prices? Well, what's happened is they can't build them fast enough. I know I've said that many times on this channel, but I don't mean it lightly. Yes, there is a lot of construction going on, but the demand for houses is creating this surplus in prices and this overinflation in prices. So how much longer is this going to last? I think that's what everyone wants to know. Like, I mean, are the prices just going to keep going up and away forever? And this is the way I look at markets, whether it's the stock market or cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is obviously way up right now. I mean, anybody who invested in Bitcoin back in March had made 4 or 5 times their return on investment with the price sitting at $17,000 almost. But I've been in cryptocurrency markets, the stock market, and I know that at some point you enter into bubble territory when you reach an all-time high. And so the Arizona housing market just now recently in 2020 really went to an all-time high, because the previous all-time high was in 2007, I should say, 2006. That was when the housing market really reached its peak. Thanks to the 18 people who already crushed up the likes. And I see all these comments. What's up, Jane? And what's up, Arizona Insider? And yeah, yesterday, the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know if you guys are Cardinals fans. Hopefully you are if you live here. But that was a heck of a game. They threw a Hail Mary. They call it a Hail Murray now because he just aired it out from like midfield, and DeAndre Hopkins caught it in the end zone in triple coverage. So it was really cool. But anyway, back on the subject. I'll talk about the Cardinals later on in the video. But thanks to the 23 people who crushed up the like button. Anyway, so back to the subject at hand. This we are in an all-time high. We haven't seen these housing prices since 2007. Now, the first thing I say to any real estate agent is, okay, if we're at an all-time high, that means the market's higher than it's ever been in history. Obviously, well, that means we're headed back into a bubble and now's not a time to buy. Well, what they commonly say is what happened in 2006, 2007, 2008 won't happen again, because regulators came in and they controlled the market. So what happens is the predatory lending, or like the lax rules on lending, they got really tight on that. They weren't allowing people to buy 2, 3, 4 homes. You pretty much had to have a primary residence and a lot of money in the bank to actually own another house or a condo to rent out. So what drove the market down before, they eliminated a lot of that riffraff. So the market's not as unstable. It's not built on sand. It's built on a more stable foundation, which is good for the housing market. So most common projections here say, this is coming off of the Mashvisor. There's a couple different reports that all have this. There's many reports, housing market reports, that you can get access to. Most real estate agents have access to that. But the average median home price in Arizona right now for a piece of property, $470,000. I mean, like I said, I mean, the average median home price I felt was around about 320 in Metro Phoenix. So it being around 472, it's a lot higher. A lot. People are really disappointed because they're like, hey, I thought I was moving to Arizona and I was going to get some really smoking great deals. Well, it's not 2018 anymore. You waited too long, and now we're looking at really high prices. So so with that being said, the market will likely to continue rising until September 2021. So they expect an 8.2% increase in value. Now, here's the way I look at this. Okay, so if you know we're in bubble territory because we're already approaching all-time highs, what happens at 8.2% if you need to sell? So let's just say you buy at 400, okay, because you could get houses out in Santan Valley for under 400,000 today, okay? So I mean, outside of certain areas of Metro Phoenix, there's homes in Buckeye still going for probably under 400,000. But you add the 8.2%, but here's the kick. That 8.2%, when you go to sell it, will go towards closing costs and real estate, the listing agent's fees, and then the selling agent's fees. So you're really it's going to be a break-even deal. I mean, so this whole idea that it's an investment, if you sell it, you live in it for 2 years, 3 years. I mean, sure, if you go long-term plan, 5 years with all the money printing going on, I mean, the Federal Reserve and the Treasury, they've basically turned on the money printers, and it's like funny money at this point. They're talking about another stimulus and even bigger stimulus than we had before, which means more trillions of dollars. I mean, as if $4 trillion didn't do too much. They're like trillions more. So, I mean, that's going to create more money in circulation, which is going to do more to, flood the values, inflate the economy, inflate the prices. So what you see now could possibly in 5 years from now, in 2025, the houses in Arizona could be worth $400,000 house could be worth 550, 600,000, or who knows how high it could go, depending on how much inflation really kicks in. Now, one of the cool things about being a homeowner opposed to renting that I've discovered, aside from selling your house, is you can also take a loan in equity against your home. So let's just say you buy it for $270 in this case, or $370 in this case, and it goes up to $450, and the bank agrees, the lender agrees that it's $450. You can pull out $70,000 and have that money just sitting there without even having to sell your house. But the only difference is it rolls into the loan. Your home value that you bought it for $370 is now listed at $450 or something along that line, depending on how much you requalify for. Now, the benefit to that I would say is certainly a perk that's probably helping drive the market is the low interest rates. So these low interest rates, sometimes as low as 2.5%, 3% on average, 4%, 5%, depending on how good your credit is and a variety of different factors. That is certainly a good thing. But what happens when the market, when they decide to raise interest rates? I mean, are they going to keep interest rates low and keep going down to where? I mean, I even heard an outsider theory that I don't know if necessarily is true, but this guy was saying that they're going to go to negative interest rates. So they're going to pay you to take out a loan. I was like, well, if that happens, this housing market is going to continue to be strong for a long time. And it makes nothing but great sense to continue to buy instead of rent. So these are all things. George says, hey, Jeff, I see some homes in Queen Creek still at 270. Well, that's possible. I don't know. From what I think it depends on the community. But like I said, I mean, the further you are outside of Metro Phoenix, there's still some pretty good deals to be had. And some of these homes, you could get good deals. And apparently George says he's seen them for as low as 270. So that's a pretty good deal. So for those of you who are looking for a place to find a good deal, maybe you look out in Queen Creek. But definitely in the middle of the city. I mean, I was just up in Desert Ridge, for example. They were telling me that 2-bedroom condo in Desert Ridge, which is North Phoenix, it's not even a Scottsdale zip code, just a 2-bedroom condo, $530,000. I was like, there is no way this is a $530,000 house. This condo is like $530,000 in Hawaii, maybe. Now, maybe in Hawaii it's like $700,000, but still $530,000 for a condo in Desert Ridge, North Phoenix. I was like, that just doesn't make sense. 2-bedroom, I mean, 1,200 square feet. So I was like, it instantly popped in my mind. This is a bubble. I was like, we're in a bubble. So that's when I started calling everybody, doing my research to see if we were indeed in a bubble. George K. Or Judy in Arizona says, George K. Queen Creek has gone phenomenally, has smaller homes in certain subdivisions under 300K. So yeah, I mean, if you're getting a smaller home, you could probably find that in Queen Creek. And, but here's the deal. If the economy doesn't recover, one of the knocks on Queen Creek, Santan Valley is it's far away from a freeway. And there's no industry out. There's no real industry out here. I mean, there's established industry, but there's no tech industry. So you're going to be driving far to get to work typically, wherever, because you got to drive about 20, 30 minutes to get onto a freeway, the 202, or in some cases, maybe the 60, if that's closer. But then you get on the 60 or the 202 and you got to drive all around, the loop and all that. So Queen Creek, there is a little bit of a concern about living in Queen Creek. If the economy falters, if it doesn't recover, which it is expected to recover miraculously because they've propped it up with all the stimulus, which in the end could end up being a good thing, believe it or not. I don't know how it would work out for national debt being a good thing, but you could make the argument that it's going to be a good thing. Thank you to the 37 people who crushed up the like button. I see Troy B. I got a 55-acre ranch at 950K that can pump 1,000 gallons a minute. Nobody looks at it. Oh, really? Where are you at, Troy B? Judy in Arizona says they have a new highway right out of town to take you to 202 Santan. You're talking about the plan to build a new freeway that will take you beyond Ellsworth and then beyond Ironwood, or take you to Ironwood. That's in the plan. That's in the forecast. But Queen Creek, the roads are really congested out here. I mean, some people say Queen Creek and Santan Valley have some of the worst traffic, but then I would say that the worst traffic I've ever seen in Phoenix, Arizona is in Mesa. I mean, Mesa on a Saturday afternoon is, with all the snowbirds in town in the winter, I mean, it's absolutely nuts trying to pull out of Mesa. I mean, it's such an old city. It was like they didn't plan ahead for a massive population boom in Mesa, that's for sure. Deb says the driving into work is maddening. I knew many people who got sick of it and moved out after 3 years of freeway driving. Blake says, is Midtown or downtown prices going up as well? Yeah, I mean, most of the prices, especially in these sought after areas like Scottsdale, Desert Ridge, downtown Phoenix, Arcadia, Biltmore, these areas are really seeing a price spike. And it's, in my opinion, it is bubble territory, and it's overpriced. Now, overpriced in comparison to what? Well, I mean, if I'm going to be paying those kind of prices, I might be better off just moving to Hawaii at that point. I mean, $550,000 for a 2-bedroom, 1,050 square foot condominium? I don't think so. I don't care if you got the nicest pool and the coolest gyms in every building with a garage. I don't think it's worth $530,000 to live in North Phoenix. That's just me. Scott, Jeff, I want to move to Desert Ridge. Yeah, Desert Ridge is nice. I mean, my ideal place would be Kierland, but Kierland prices in Scottsdale, Greyhawk, DC Ranch, that's where I really want to be, North Scottsdale, but I'm definitely priced out of that. So I'm like, well, at least at Desert Ridge, I'm right there on the freeway and I'm right next to everything else, So that was one of the things that I was thinking about. George Krug says, hey, Jeff, speaking of that, I Googled the timeline driving from Queen Creek to Phoenix South on a decent commute, says 53 minutes. Sounds about right. I mean, depending on traffic, you might get traffic coming during rush hour, in particular, coming out of Phoenix at 5 o'clock in the afternoon might be a little bit of a hustle and bustle, especially if you're coming on the I-10. The 202 has its benefits. The South Mountain Freeway, that does have its benefits. Judy in Arizona says, Troon area has retiree spots for 500K. Yeah, I did hear there was some areas that surprised me. Like there's this area in between Cave Creek and Desert Ridge called Tatum Ranch. It's kind of older now. Actually, it's in the area where I grew up. It's right off there at Dynamite, Tatum Boulevard and Dynamite. I was surprised to hear that the houses over there are still under sometimes $400,000. And that to me is a good area to be. It is really a good area. I mean, you're far enough out of town, but you're close enough to where a drive down Tatum will get you on the 101 where you slingshot around. Probably the best freeway system is the 101 in all Phoenix. That's that, and maybe the 202. But I-17, I-10, that stuff is a disaster at this point. I mean, you want the newer freeways. State Route 51 is pretty good. Although State Route 51, once you get past Northern, I mean, it can get clogged up, and many of you guys who live here already know about that. Thanks to the 49 people who crushed up the like button. Heart Sweet says groceries have been going up for a while. Yeah, I mean, cost of living overall in Arizona has gone up over the last 2 years. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Thanks to everyone who's asking these questions because I'm going to try and field them. The 202 sucks going west at 3 p.m., says Deb. That's a good insight, Deb. Thanks for sharing that. So 202 going west. You're talking, I mean, I would say the I-10 at 3 p.m. is not so good going west either, especially just outside of central Phoenix and beyond. Let's see. Dina says, I think I'll be staying in Wyoming. Yeah, I heard. Oh well, to that same comment, Wyoming experienced a massive boom too. I mean, Jackson Hole, Wyoming has some of the most expensive real estate in all of America, on par with Manhattan and Santa Barbara. I think it's kind of happening all across the country, where some places are just like Wyoming, Idaho, Phoenix, Arizona. I think even Utah is getting expensive now. Maybe Las Vegas is finally starting to pick up and recover, but if people who are comparing Vegas and Phoenix, they're like, should I move to Vegas and Phoenix? I hear this very common. Outside of the Strip in Las Vegas, there's nothing really to do. I mean, you could go to Lake Mead, and I guess you could go to like the Grand Canyon or something, but Las Vegas outside of the Strip doesn't have much going on for it. I mean, thankfully they moved the Las Vegas Raiders there, or the Oakland Raiders, to become the Las Vegas Raiders. So they now have a sports team to be excited about. But Shay A1 says, what about Albuquerque? Again, I mean, I've been to Albuquerque. I didn't think it was that bad, but I didn't think it was that great. I compare Albuquerque a lot to Tucson. It's very comparable. And if I was to live in Tucson or Albuquerque, I would still go with Tucson. So that kind of solves that. But people who've been to Albuquerque, I mean, I would say 8 out of 10 people. I've rarely heard anyone say great things about Albuquerque. I know that Santa Fe has good reviews, so that's something to keep in mind if you're looking for something like that. Jane says Las Vegas also has a hockey team. I think they're Las Vegas Predators. No, that's the Nashville Predators. I can't remember I know they went to the Stanley Cup like 2 years ago. Like when they were in the Stanley Cup, I was like, whoa, Vegas has a pro sports team and it's in hockey of all things. But I forgot. Oh, the Golden Knights. That's right. Caitlin says the governor in Arizona is horrible. Yeah, he's not winning over. He's a Republican. He's not winning over Republican constituents, and he's not winning over the other side. So he's not looked on pretty. But I mean, he wasn't doing a terrible job. But this COVID thing has just thrown that guy way out there, because he's like running around with a chicken with his head cut off. He don't know if he wants to lock down, because it's like you got to pick a side here. What are you going to do? He's taking the middle row, and the middle row was a concession of both sides, and both sides, the left and the right, are kind of like, well, we want what we want, and he chose the middle, and no one wanted the middle. They wanted their way. So, yeah, Lethal says he's too wishy-washy. But I mean, I'm not going to make an opinion about Governor Ducey, but you go around Arizona, you talk to these small towns, they hate that guy, especially in the small towns, because he pretty much shut down all their businesses. Well, you could say the COVID did, but I mean, you talk to any of these small business owners, they're just like, screw that guy. I hate that guy. That guy, and we're talking, these are Republican strongholds, and he's a Republican. Like, they really don't like that dude. Anyway, rant over about that. I'm just saying, I heard it from them in multiple different places across Arizona. So I know for a fact that's how they feel. That's what I'm saying. I thought for the most part, Arizona, yeah, anyway, I'm not even going to get into politics. I don't think Arizona housing market is going to crash. I use NYC as an example when I explain to friends and family. Okay, so there's an opinion. The cost of living is rising far faster than incomes. Yeah, I mean, the incomes haven't gone up. I haven't seen any income rise at all across Phoenix Metro. I haven't heard anyone saying, hey, they got a raise or something like that. I mean, it was interesting because they did do a really good thing with that stimulus for the unemployment. People were, Arizona gives like $150 for unemployment, but you got also that $500. So people were making $700, and they were able to kind of work from home and consider doing a side gig. I mean, I didn't do any of that. I didn't get any unemployment, although if it was available to me, I would have taken it, but I didn't get any of that because I'm a self-employed person. But my business was directly affected by the shutdown as a self-employed business owner. So that's how I know for a fact that small businesses were the ones who were most affected, because there was no relief for small businesses. They said the PPP, but then you apply for the PPP, and it's like, here's $1,200, and you're like, $1,200 what? $1,200. I'm talking $1,200 from PPP, not $1,200 stimulus. So if you were a small business owner in Arizona, you really got washed. So it was not good. They didn't think that one through. But if you had a job as an employee, you were able to collect that unemployment, but then it expired. And then now what are they going to do? So people are really in need of some sort of relief, or they let people go back to regular life, which they're not going to do because the COVID outbreak. I mean, you tune on to CNN right now, they're just pumping this COVID stuff left and right. I mean, you can't tune into CNN and hear them shut up about anything other than COVID and the election. They don't talk about anything else. You wouldn't know anything about China, Middle East, all these things that you thought were important, ISIS and all these things, Al Qaeda and the Afghan war, not a peep. It's all just COVID. So I don't see how they're going to, and they completely advocate for total shutdown. So the only thing left on the table to do is, if you're going to shut people down and block the jobs from happening, they have to provide relief. Otherwise, you're doomed for an economic disaster. I mean, it's inevitable. You can't lock it down like that and without destroying the economy. And so how does all that tie into the housing market? Well, if people can't afford their home rent or their home mortgage, how are they going to make the payment? The only other option is they say, hey, don't pay your rent, don't pay your mortgage. It's okay. We'll give you 3 months. But there hasn't been any of that coming out. There's been no relief for anyone. Someone said the toilet paper. So the toilet paper became a thing again. Yeah, you go onto Facebook groups, you hear people saying, what's up with the toilet paper? Where could I get some toilet paper? I went to the Fry's in Santan, blah, blah, blah. There's no toilet paper. There's no paper towels. People are back to binge buying. I saw videos of people at Kirkland, Costco in Washington, where it was out of control. I mean, it was like it looked like an event. It looked like the most crowded state fair in a Costco. I mean, it was shoulder to shoulder people. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, how can that not be a super spreader situation? I guess because people are wearing masks. I mean, I'm like, so it was like almost, it was weird. They were like shoving people into these close quarters because Costco was like the only thing that's open, along with a couple other places, by locking it down. I was like, that just didn't make any sense. You're going to put people, it's like standing in line to get into Walmart. When do you stand side by side with people at Walmart? I mean, like, people have their space in Walmart, unless it's like super crowded. But for the most part, the closest I am to people at Home Depot or in Walmart is when I'm standing in line next to people while they're all waiting to get in one by one. So some things just don't make sense. But I guess, what do I know? I'm not a scientist. The scientists know better than me. Anyways, rant over on that. Got the right. CNN seems to be on a loop. Yeah, CNN is totally, so is MSNBC. You get a little bit of relief from Fox News, but Fox News has even gone down that path. So when you're talking mainstream media, you're getting the same information across the stream with no other information. I mean, they won't even tell you about acute twins. Like, they don't even tell you any good news at all. Like, they're not like, we got some great news today. A successful, what do they call those twins that have combined heads or something? And then, like, the neurosurgeon will come in and, like, separate the twins, combined twins or whatever. You don't hear any good news. It's no good news. It's all the end of times. It's like, today, cases are going up by 3,000%, and you're just like, whoa. You're just like, oh my gosh. And people are freaking out. People are really freaking out. You guys might think, oh man, he's freaking out right now. No, I'm telling you, like, I'll get on the phone, I'll talk to my neighbors. They're like, oh my gosh, they're buying ammo, they're buying rounds, they're buying food, they're buying excessive amounts of toilet paper. It's crazy. So how does that all tie into the housing market? Well, if things get hairy and they don't get any sort of relief, and there's no relief from the anxiety and the stress that people are feeling, eventually the whole thing is going to collapse like a house of cards, and then it goes back down to where it should be. So a $530,000 condominium in Desert Ridge that I think is overinflated comes back down to where I think it should be, $300,000. I mean, that house should not, that condo should not sell for any more than $300,000, and that would have been high in my opinion. So $530,000. I don't care where you're at. I mean, with no view, you're not getting a view. It's not like you're looking out and seeing this beautiful golf course where you get these great rolling hills or anything. It's like your view is the street. Okay. Yeah. Right. Conjoined twins. Thanks, Bug. MK says, watch Newsmax, not Fox. Does Newsmax have a channel? I don't think so. I mean, I go through all my channels on Cox Communications. They only give me what they want to give me. They don't even let me choose anymore. It's just like you get all the mainstream media, the ones that they prefer. I found out CNN's owned by AT&T. Go figure that, right? What's going on with that? I know coronavirus is real. It's real. I've known people who've had it. They got that it turned into pneumonia. And then the pneumonia settled in their chest and they were really sick. Like they had to do the blood oxygen levels. And I was like, I'm going from this guy who's like, I don't know what's going on here, to like knowing people who got it. And I'm like, okay, this is real. So we'll see. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks to 65 people who crushed up the likes. Hope I shed some light on this. If you missed it, you can go back to the beginning and watch from the beginning where the information came out. Thanks to all the new subscribers that came on and the 67 people who crushed up the likes. We'll see you on the next one.